Hello, 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 coaches and leaders. I have a very special person on with me, Todd Goodman. Todd and I have been working together for 2 years now, and he has made remarkable impact on his school community and classroom. He's a teacher leader, and so I'm excited because um, he's just been such a leader, and I could start like a grassroots movement in his school to empower his peers. And so first of all, Todd, I wanted to welcome you to the show. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. It's an honor.
Yes. So Todd and I know each other through an organization, the Baselli Foundation, and we've been doing kind of leadership development work. It's kind of
Mhm.
coaching and leadership development work with a cohort of teacher leaders and coaches to to learn how to impact your community, not from positional power, right? Not because someone at the
Right.
school said you have power, but from I what I would consider pure empowerment, right? Like
Mhm.
you actually took the work and went into your school and you worked with your peers, right? And you worked with the people around you and like really created some really strong impact. And so I'm excited to hear your stories and talk with you all about that.
Mhm.
Um, and so I'd love to just kind of jump right in and,
Okay,
and
great.
talk about this.
Yes.
So, first, I'd love you to share what were your biggest challenges and frustrations before we started working together at the Baselli Foundation?
I would have to say probably the biggest challenges and frustration were not external, they were more internal.
Uh-huh.
That mindset that I had to fix it and have all of the answers and do the work that really others should be doing, the person that I may be supporting or trying to mentor or I've been partnered with as a buddy. So that overwhelming feeling of just having to have all the answers, and that is not what leadership is about. It's not about being the expert in the room and being the smartest one in the room. I mean, you to be an effective leader, you should know stuff and be resourceful,
Yeah.
but it is an unnecessary burden to have that fix it mindset. It kind of weighs you down and it impacts your capacity to lead. You
Uh-huh.
kind of suffocate the leader in you because you're always trying to fix it. And then 9 times out of 10, you're fixing the wrong thing because you haven't done the work to find out what is the real issue. So it's like you're just squirreling, what's
Yeah.
everything that pops up, let me run and fix it. So the foundation has really helped me to frame what leadership is and what my role is as a leader. And that has been very helpful to me. And it's things that you may know, but you just haven't had the time to put it in a frame and
Mhm.
apply it effectively. So that the fellowship has given me the pause that I need to kind of frame this stuff and develop a systematic way to implement it.
I love it. And I
Yeah.
think everyone listening could probably relate to that running around, trying to fix it,
Mhm.
exhausted,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I know people who like wear that exhaustion as a badge of honor, like I'm working so hard, right? And it's like
Right.
we kind of all do. I've definitely done that in my past, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
it's
Oh yeah.
like and you learned, I mean, in a way, not to oversimplify this, but work smarter, not harder, right? To figure
Right.
out like what is the root issue
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
and how do I empower the people around me to
Mhm.
help solve this, right? And not you be the sole person.
Right.
I love
Absolutely.
that. I love that. Okay, so I want to ask you, right? So you've had this like really kind of profound realizations around, shifting from those challenges. Can you share a specific aha moment that you had, either during the Whole Educator Academy, which was our first year together, and then the
Mhm.
Impactful Leader Academy, which was our second year together?
Yes, the one of the biggest aha moments, I had quite a few, but one of the biggest ones was the firing your complaints
Uh-huh.
framework.
Yes.
And I can remember when you introduced this framework to us, and when you said the our complaints are only real in our head, I was like,
Mhm.
what? Because I have some valid complaints. Like
You do.
it really challenged me to think like, oh, okay, so let me listen. And as you unpacked it, I'm like, you know what? You're right. When we all, if you've been in education, teachers complain. That is, it's part of the culture, and it's not always negative complaining. Sometimes we just talk about our students, their behavior, the stuff they say, things that the 1,000 things we have to do in one day, and it has to be done right, and all has to be done on time. So complaining is a real part of the educational culture, and I've always felt that as a leader, it's my responsibility to offer a different perspective, like not to be um, insensitive to how a person feels, to show empathy, not do toxic positivity, but
Mhm.
to really offer another perspective so that people can feel what they're feeling and kind of move on. But the firing your complaints really helped me personally, first of all, to drill down to what was written. What I thought was the complaint really wasn't the complaint. It
Mhm.
was something else that just had that I put this complaint blanket over. And
Yeah.
when I looked it up, I'm like, oh, this is the real issue.
Mhm.
And it was actually easier to address and to move on and take responsibility for my part and put it in perspective and take some actionable steps to get to a better place, because the focus is advancing learning for our students. So regardless of all of our complaints and frustrations that we have, if we don't put them in proper space, we, the ones who suffer are our students,
Mhm. Yeah.
because we get so caught up in our own agenda that we can't support our students in a healthy and effective way. So firing complaints is like, it has been like transformational for me. It's so much to the point where if I ask my administrators if I can share that during pre-planning here. So I'm looking forward to that.
I love this so much. And for all the listeners don't know Fire Your Complaints. Can you briefly share kind of what it is and how it kind of works for you?
Yeah, yeah. So, like I said, when you first said it, that our complaints only are real in our mind. They're not real anywhere else. It's all in our head. So, the first thing we have to do is find the facts, because a lot of stuff is just feeling. It's our interpretation. So, listing the facts about how we're feeling, like what is our complaint. So
Hmm.
list the facts, separating facts from fallacy. Then feeling, feeling what we feel so we can move beyond it. And our feelings are real. Our frustrations are real. They may be valid, but misplaced. So
Hmm.
feeling them so we can move on. Identifying the root cause, which is important in every facet of leadership. We have to find out, what are we really working on? What
Hmm.
is the problem? Because we spend so much time putting band-aids on
Hmm.
stuff, like putting band-aids on a gunshot wound. Like, let's drill down and figure out what the real problem is,
Hmm.
reframe it,
Hmm.
put it in. Now that we've done the work to identify what really is, let's put it in a frame so we know exactly what we're dealing with, and then develop steps, actionable items to address it, to solve it, because the situation may not change. We
Hmm.
may be the ones that have to make an adjustment.
Hmm.
Because as you know, I had a complaint all year that
Uh-huh.
I had to keep firing. I was like firing, firing, firing all year long. And I had to, because I knew that if I did not fire my complaints, my students were going to suffer. I was going to have a year long pity party, and the ones that would suffer would be my students. So I fired my complaints. I put things in the right perspective. I didn't view anything as a personal attack on me, because
Mhm.
usually that's the root of complaints. We feel, we
Yes.
take it personally, we internalize it,
Hmm.
we treat it as a personal attack, and we act defensively. We withhold support, we withhold action, we withhold resources, and we just coddle our wounds and have this big pity party. But I don't know if I would have been able to navigate through this school year if I didn't have that framework. It
That's
was, and I'm happy to report that my students scored higher than the district average on their end of course assessment.
that's incredible.
And I might not be have that testimony if I had not fired my complaints all year long.
Oh, that's so powerful, Todd, to like really connect that it's not something that just makes you feel good. It's
Hmm.
not surface. It's like this has direct impact on student outcomes.
Yep, absolutely.
I have chills.
Absolutely.
I have chills. Oh, thank you for sharing that with me.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, so amazing. Okay. So, oh, and just for those listening, I will actually put a free download. I'll put the Fire Your Complaints template so those listening can download this as well, and you can fire your own complaints.
Yes, please do. You won't
Yes,
regret it. Yeah.
love this. Okay, so what through our couple years together, through both academies, what did you learn about yourself as a leader?
I learned that I don't have to fix it all. I don't have to fix it all. I've always viewed leadership as the highest level of service. It's, as leaders, sometimes people define leadership as that you're catered to. You walk in a room, people stand up and bow, you sit in a big chair, and, you're being served. But leadership is like the apex of servanthood. And I've learned that I don't need to know all the answers, but I
Yes.
need to have the right tools
Hmm.
to find the answers. And finding the answers, meaning that I don't necessarily need to find them. I need to facilitate the opportunity for the person I'm supporting to find them, because they walk away feeling empowered, feeling competent, being able to trust others. So when we try to show up as leaders, as the expert. Yeah, I'm the know it all. I've done this. Let me tell you how to fix it. That taming that advice monster and letting people, navigating them through this journey of solving their own problems so they have their dignity. They don't feel like they've been belittled, they've been talked down to, or overwhelmed with all of this advice about how someone else would do it, but equipping them to as leaders, we should be able to harness the best out of others and inspire them to achieve more and to be just excellent at what they do. So I've learned that I have been that fix it leader,
Hmm.
but now I'm transitioning into that facilitating leader. Like,
Yes.
I'm not the one, I'm here to support you
Yes.
to get to the solution. I'm
Yes.
not coming with the answers. I'm coming with my toolkit, and we're going to do the work together.
And
Yeah.
throughout the years, I've heard your stories of how you've done this very concretely. I'm
Mhm.
curious, there's a couple things. I'm curious, like, would you be willing to share a story clearly without names of how
Mhm.
you empowered someone, like a
Yeah.
peer, someone at your
Mhm.
school, what that looked like, and what tools you used to do that? Because I know you were like very adamant about
Mhm.
utilizing the tools and practicing them until it made sense to you, right? Until something
Right.
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, could you share a story of how you
Sure.
did that?
Yeah. So I had a teacher partner that was there. The students were struggling in this particular subject. And I was just curious as to what that teacher thought. So I asked, and their response was, well, the students don't do the work. They're not motivated. They don't apply themselves. They don't do their homework. They're not trying. So there was like huge deflection on what the students were doing. And so I began to drill down. I used the drill down framework. Like, let's really look at why is this happening? Why aren't they motivated? Why aren't they trying? Why aren't why aren't they turning in their homework? Why do they not engage in the lessons? So after a series of questioning as to why, like, well, why do you think that's happening? Um, the teacher, actually, we just started laughing. She started laughing. She was like, "Oh my goodness, this is." She was like, "Mr. Goodman, why are you doing this?" It was just, I could see the lights coming on for her. Like, it really wasn't a student problem; it was a teacher problem. That, and they saw how they could do things differently, how they could make learning engaging, because we have every class is different, and when you have students, you can't really teach the lesson the same way to each class,
Mhm.
because every class has different needs. It's a different culture in every class. It's a different behavior dynamic. You have different levels of achievement. So knowing your students' strengths and opportunities, being able to design lessons that are engaging, small group. Some classes or small groups may need to be first. You may need to switch how you do things. So when at the end of that conversation, this teacher really felt empowered to do something different, and especially for one particular group of students that were like struggling, like, hey, these kids are failing.
Yeah.
What and it can't we just can't put the onus on the student. Like, they're children, they have to be taught, and we have to give them the opportunity to do the best. Will every child end up on grade level? No, they won't. But should every child grow? Absolutely. Absolutely. And to facilitate that growth, we have to drill down to what's going on. What are we doing in the classroom from day to day that is resulting in students failing day to day? So, data doesn't lie. Data does not lie, and the data ties directly to, our instruction, what's going on in the classroom. So sometimes we're given lemons, and we have to make lemonade. That lemonade may not be as sweet as some want it to be, but we
Hmm.
have to do our best to advance student learning. So that was very impactful. And sometimes me and this teacher, we'll look at each other, we just start laughing, like we
From that
from this
moment you had
moment,
with her,
from
Goodman,
this
like,
moment,
oh
yeah.
my gosh.
And even I'll just speak, and I'll be like, "Good morning," and we just start laughing because I think it was really that impactful for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it helped me too, because I'm like, hey, I have some students that they're just, it's not connecting for them.
Yeah.
It's not connecting for them. Like, what can I do? Why isn't this student even growing? I know they may be 2 or 3 years behind, and I can't get them to grade level, but they should be showing some growth. And we have to, as teachers, it's so easy to kind of go over or bypass the student who we know is not getting it during instruction. And we're like, well, I'm going to pull them after. But what if that small group doesn't happen that day? So we have done nothing to engage that student. And even the students that are well behaved, we assume that they're getting it. And they could be just as lost. Just because they're sitting there quietly doesn't mean that they're making a connection to the lesson. And then we see that their data doesn't reflect learning either. So making don't not taking for granted that students know what we've taught.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have to have um, tangible ways to assess the effectiveness of what we're doing in the
Yes.
classroom, and we can't blaming it on students. Does not that is,
No.
that is not an
No.
excuse. Yeah,
But
yeah.
so I want to kind of name something that happened with you and this teacher. And that is, it's true transformation. And
Hmm.
I what you did was actual transformational leadership.
Hmm.
We use the word transformation a lot. wildly incorrectly and it
Right.
bugs me. I'm like, this is wrong, guys, and you're ruining the word. And so
Mhm.
I'm using the word very selectively right now for what you did. Because
Okay.
what you did with your relationship with her, you didn't just make her a little bit better. It
Mhm.
wasn't just improvement, it was transformation, right?
Mhm.
You transformed your relationship with her.
Right.
You say good morning and you chuckle. That
Yeah,
wasn't happening before. That is a transformation. And neurologically, that does something to your brain. The fact that you
it
guys
does.
can look at each other in the morning and chuckle,
Mhm. Yep.
that's amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Um, and it transformed how she saw her students,
Right. It did.
right? She
It
can't
did.
unsee that. It's like the butterfly. Caterpillar's a butterfly. We're not going back to caterpillar. She
Mhm.
forever has changed the way she's thought about this and her
Absolutely.
students.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Yep.
that's so powerful,
Yeah.
Todd. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I want to talk about your leadership style. You kind of alluded to early on, you said, I don't need to have the answers. I figured that out, right?
Mhm.
I'm curious, how has your coaching or leadership style changed throughout the academies, and have any of the tools, frameworks, conversations helped
Mhm.
to facilitate that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have learned that I've always been like a good listener because I'm not a
Mhm,
big talker. People find that hard to believe, but I I don't talk a lot. I try to listen and observe.
mhm,
And I thought I was good at it. I really did. I'm like, yeah, I'm a good listener. I'm easy to talk to. People are always telling me that. But once I learned how effective listening is transformational, it has really um, intensified or exponentially improved my ability to listen and to listen without wanting to form an opinion or form a response, like listening with every part of your being and being able to reflectively respond to a person is is like therapeutic to people
mhm,
because a lot of times when people a teacher is frustrated and these frustrations are real. Like the classroom is the front line of education. It is where the rubber meets the road and where the results, where learning happens. It's in the classroom. So the demands, the expectations, they grow daily. And so teachers are overwhelmed. They're frustrated. Sometimes they don't feel valued. Sometimes they don't feel supported. Um, so to listen with your heart, your ears, with everything, and then to be able to reflect, it sometimes that's all a person needs to kind of push the reset button and to get over that hump. And then when we reflectively listen and we tell them, well, this is what I hear you saying, this is what I'm hearing, and this is how you say it makes you feel, it lets them have an aha moment for themselves. Like, thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you. And I think that's where trust starts because if people don't feel heard, they're not going to trust. They're not going to let their guard down. They won't be open to feedback. They won't be open to trying something new. You know,
mhm,
you won't get any leeway with them if they can't trust you. So listening to people, being using the effective listening framework, reflective listening, has been a game changer for me as a leader because you have to garner people's trust first. Trust is not something that you are owed; it's
mhm.
something that we earn, and it's lost in buckets, but it's earned in drops. You know, we it's a tedious effort to earn trust, but once it's gone, good luck. So the reflective listening has helped the building trust
Mhm,
strategies.
mhm,
Like that's something that I struggle with extending trust. You know, and
mm,
trust is like how competent we feel that a person is. And it's not, and I had to realize that it's not because I don't really, not necessarily, I don't trust people. It's I feel like if I want it done, I need to do it. which is not good leadership. Leaders should be able to delegate and trust people to do. So I've been thinking about that a lot. Like, do I feel like people are incompetent, or is it that's I it's a pride issue? Like, I'll do it. If I want it done, I'll do it myself. So that's something I'm still kind of working on, but I honestly I don't believe other people are competent. That's not how I look at people. I just it's I don't know if it's unresolved trauma. I'm not sure. Just not being willing to let things go
Yeah.
and let others have an opportunity. So, but listening is
Yeah.
important. I think leadership starts with
Listening.
listening. You got to hear what's going on.
I love this. I'm so
Yeah.
happy to hear you say that. Do you remember the whole Educator Academy that first year and every homework, every time I gave homework, you're like, look,
Mm-hmm.
you'd had to do two things. You
Mm-hmm.
had to do apply whatever I taught you
Yeah.
and reflectively listen. And people were like,
Reflectively
again,
listen.
you got to do
Yeah.
it every time.
And I appreciate that. I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate that. And you just don't know how unheard people feel.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we talk all day, we interact, we communicate, but people just don't feel heard. Like, does anyone listen? Is anyone listening? Does anyone care? But I feel like I've garnered the trust of my coworkers because of reflective listening. Like, they'll let their guard down, they'll be open to feedback. And then, I tame that advice monster because reflective listening does not include giving advice. And it's hard because we feel like, oh, you could do this, and that'll fix that. But that's not the goal. That's not the goal. It's just to hear the person out. And you open the door where you can, and even in opening that door, you don't want to come in bombarding them with advice. You still want to facilitate an opportunity for that person to discover the answer on their own. And that's what builds people up, expands their capacity, helps them to be more confident in their ability. And that's really what leadership is about, showing up, being committed to people being the best that they can be in their role.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe people can lead from where they are. People think of leadership as the ones in the administrative office,
Mm-hmm.
but we lead from where we are.
Yep. Yep.
And just imagine if everyone grabbed hold of that concept,
Mm-hmm.
that I may not be the lead leader, but I'm a leader where I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to be maximizing my skills, my abilities, my influence to help this school or wherever I am to move forward.
I love it. Um, question for you. When you've been reflectively listening, has anything surprising ever happened? Like there you are, someone's talking, you reflectively listen, and
Yeah.
something unexpected happens.
Oh, yeah. People, they
Yeah.
start crying.
Crying. Yep.
They start
Yep.
crying because they feel heard.
Hmm.
They feel that um, it's just something that I mean, I'm sure it is psychological where if a person is talking to you and they're complaining, they're upset, they flip their lid. It's like, there's no trust here. I'm in survival mode. Like, it's on and popping now. But you can see how they calm down and they relax, they let their guard down, and they open up, and they can a lot of times talk themselves through what it is that they're going through, because as we reflect on what we've heard, they hear it, and it's like, oh, well, yeah, well, this is, and they can kind of start drilling down for themselves, like, oh, that what I thought was the problem really isn't. So yeah, the tears, it's emotional, it's fulfilling, it's gratifying, and people really appreciate being heard. And teachers need to be heard. Sometimes we just keep things to ourselves and we'll let it come out as a complaint and no one really listens. We just start complaining with each other. So everybody's complaining. No no one's reflectively listening.
No.
And we just go on to the next thing without any real solution, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and again, the group that suffers is our students. They suffer. They're the ones that miss out.
Yep. Yep. For sure. I'm curious, you said before the academies, you're like, I thought I was a good listener, right? And then I learned. I'm curious about what before the academies, what was your experience of the level of trust around you? And then as you moved through the two academies, like how did you see that change?
Um, I would say by reflectively listening, I think people before I was easy, people just see me as someone easy to talk to, not
Mhm,
necessarily that they would um, trust my advice or
mhm,
trust me with more, like being very vulnerable with me. But after reflective listening, I find that people are more vulnerable. They let their guard down. And, I look at transparency and vulnerability as two different things. Like transparency is I'm telling you something I want you to know. And vulnerability is I'm telling you something that you could throw back in my face later. Like
mhm. It's
you could use
risky.
it, yeah, you could use it against me. And I think transparency is where we find solutions. When a person, I need your transparency because this is really where the problem is. I mean, I need your vulnerability because that's really where the problem is. Transparency is like, yeah, this is something I want you to know, but the problems lie when they lie in our vulnerability, the part of us that we might be afraid because we don't trust. We don't know how people will use this information. We don't want to come across as being weak, incompetent, fearful, insecure. Um, sometimes teachers are very competitive. They don't, especially if they feel like another teacher is more effective, they don't want to open up to their insecurities. Like they may be struggling with small groups, but they're excellent with whole group. So, always highlighting a person's strengths helps them also to open up. Like you're really great. I can see, noticings and wonderings. I notice that your students are engaged. I wonder how that translates to your small groups. That gives them the opportunity to say, well, small group is a struggle for me. I struggle with transitioning, and sometimes things can be modeled, if it's a skill deficit. Um, but then if it's a will, like I hate small groups. I don't want to do them. I feel like they're a waste of time. That's a different thing. And a lot of times we model till we turn blue in the face, and it's not a skill deficit. It's a will. The person just does not want to do it. They don't see the value in it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, the people tend to be more vulnerable now that I am listening reflectively. I may have had a lot of transparency before. You're just telling me things you want me to know, but then that vulnerability takes it up a notch. Like that's a sign that they trust. They trust. Building that trust is important as a leader.
And I want to also reflect back something that you kind of alluded to that I think is really important, which is a number of the fellows had to deal with their own trust issues first, right? So when we're
Mm-hmm.
building trust,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's this outward thing like, oh, I want you to trust me,
Mm-hmm.
but it very related. This it's not separate from how much I trust you. They are
Absolutely.
related, right? The amount that I can trust
Absolutely.
you is the amount I can build, you trusting me.
Absolutely.
And it sounds like that was a thing that you kind of had to grapple with yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. And we want people to trust us, but like, are we trusting? And people
Hmm.
can feel when we don't trust them. Like even in conversations, like what we withhold, what we don't. If we're not being vulnerable, that's a flag for the other person. Like if they're being vulnerable with us, but it's not being that vulnerability is not reciprocated, immediately, flags go up. Like, oh, well, let me taper off my
Yeah.
vulnerability. So it works both ways. Like we can't demand trust when we're not extending it ourselves.
Yeah. And something
So,
I really, talking, looping back to that kind of extending trust, and you're still kind of grappling with it. I know during our last session that was the thing that you purposefully, you're like, I want to take this on, this
mhm,
trust behavior. And one thing I really want to acknowledge within your character is you're willing to stay in the discomfort. You have a
mhm,
a high tolerance for discomfort, which is
mhm,
actually something we don't really talk about a lot, but you're willing to grapple with something and stay in the muck for a bit,
mhm,
and you're okay with not having the answer immediately and
yeah,
staying with it until you're like, oh, this is the thing. And
mhm,
that's how you've had all these breakthroughs, because you didn't need a quick win all the time,
right, yeah.
right?
Yeah, and that's not how we grow. We
Mhm.
have to be challenged, and that challenging can be very uncomfortable. It's and as we reflect as educators, we have to reflect, like, from year to year, what did we do? What worked? What didn't work? How did we grow? And sometimes we find out some things about ourselves that don't make us feel warm and fuzzy. But if we don't have those challenges, we will never grow. We would remain shallow, frail, no depth. And we can't be that way as educators. We
Uh-huh.
have to be um, have depth to us and understand our limitations as well as our strengths. So yeah, that uncomfortableness is something. But if we stay with it and get on the other side, we will realize how worth it was,
Yeah.
and how we're better able to serve those that we lead.
Yep. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
So, my final question for you is, what insight or advice do you have for the folks listening? Any of the kind of leaders, coaches, teacher leaders listening, if they're feeling stuck or frustrated, what kind of insights or advice do you have for them?
Well, I would say to my fellow teacher leaders out there that may be feeling stuck,
Mhm.
first of all, don't lead alone.
Mm,
You have to be a part of something that's bigger than you. You have, whether it's a fellowship, an organization, a friendship, a circle of other leaders. Because one thing about leadership can be lonely, and not from an extent of, oh, I don't have any friends, nobody loves me. Not from that regard, because not that you don't have anyone in your life, but from a place where, as a leader, everyone is not willing to make the sacrifice, do the work, take the risk, invest the time, the effort to empower themselves to make an impact on others. Everybody's not there. Everyone doesn't. And trying to connect with people that are not there is depleting. So you have to surround yourself with other like-minded leaders so that you don't get depleted. So I would say don't lead alone, and then always assess what is important to you and make sure that those needs are being met. Because I've learned from the fellowship that resistance is a byproduct of unmet needs. We resist, we become stuck because our needs are not met. And how detrimental is that to a leader to get to a place where now you're stuck? So our values have to stay in front of us, the things that are important to us, and we need to make sure that those things are met, that we are well, that we are whole, that our cups stay full, that we're not trying to pour into others and our cup is empty. So making sure we take care of ourselves, that we value our values are and our needs are met, and that we don't try to lead alone. God, we have to connect to something that's going to continually challenge us, can continually prompt us to grow, because we don't want to be that stuck leader and people are looking to us for guidance and we can't, we've reached our plateau. So yeah, I would encourage leaders to do, treat yourself like you would treat someone you're supporting, that they're trying to get them to navigate to a better and healthier place. Make sure that you're well, stay connected, and make sure those needs are getting met. Your needs are getting met.
Todd, you that was so profound. I don't think anyone has given that like very direct advice on my
Mm.
podcast, and I'm
Oh,
just so
wow.
grateful that you said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's just so it's like really kind of zooming out and seeing the context in which we lead, right?
Hmm.
And it's not necessarily like a strategy. It's like what's the context? Like, oh, we actually feel very lonely out there and we're
Hmm.
less effective when we're alone. So thank you so much for really driving that home, the importance of being in a leadership or coaching community of some kind.
Right. Yeah. It's important.
I love it.
It is
Well,
important.
thank you so much for being on the podcast. This has been so much fun to hear your
Yeah.
stories. You've created magic at your school, and I really want to acknowledge you for staying in the discomfort, trying new things, and like really empowering the people around you. It's truly
Yeah.
extraordinary.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a privilege being a part of the fellowship, and your trainings have been very dynamic and transformational for me. And I'm glad to be a part. Glad
Thank
to be a
you.
part.
I
Yes.
love it.